Now I'm going to bring out his bit. Now this horse, he hasn't been ridden in the bit very much, so he's still learning to accept it. This is the English style bridle. I'm just going to take the reins off for now. So this contraption I have set up here is to help him learn to take the bit, because he likes to put his tongue over the bit and kind of twist his head around, and he's a very playful horse, so he's playing, but that's not how you ride. And if he has the bit under his tongue, you don't have as good control, because the bit is made to sit on top of the tongue so that you use the tongue to talk to them, not the gum of the mouth, which is very sensitive, so you know, he could rear or toss his head or react or do things that horses do, which is move into pressure and fight things. So we want it to be on top of the tongue where it's not as sensitive as far as pain reasons, but it is sensitive to left, right, so on and so forth. So what I've done with this, this is something that Ray Hunt showed me. I had a Mustang that would routinely put her tongue over the bit, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I knew it when I was riding, because all of a sudden her head went up in the air and she's freaking out, and I'd get off and I'd see that her tongue went over the bit. So this is just a piece of baling twine, and what it does is it's kind of like a nose band that's going to go over his nose and hold that bit up in his mouth in the position that it should be. And this kind of prevents him, I mean, he might still be able to do it, but it kind of prevents him from getting his tongue over that bit, because this piece of twine is holding it up. And this piece of twine back here is just for a curb strap. You should really have a curb strap on all your snaffle bits. Its purpose is to prevent the bit from sliding all the way through the mouth. Sometimes, you know, they say with a big ring you don't need it, but I've seen him open his mouth wide enough that that ring could come through. So, you know, it doesn't have to be fancy. It's not load bearing. It's just there to keep that bit from sliding all the way through his mouth. So I'll show you how I like to put this on. You see him, well, you might not be able to see him, but he's licking his lips right now. That is the telltale sign that, number one, he's relaxed, and number two, he learned something. I don't know what he learned just then, but it's good that he's relaxed. Maybe he saw the bit coming. So what I'm gonna do, with this guy, I've been letting him wear this bit while he's hanging out in the stall, because he plays with it so much that, to me, that says he's not comfortable with it in some way. Maybe he's not fighting it, but he's playing with it too much. And you might see how his mouth will get real foamy, which is good. You just don't want too much foam. You want a horse with a wet mouth. You see right now, even, he's playing around. He's very mouthy. So when you put the bridle on, you want to have him lower his head, and you have your arm on top here, and this is going to kind of keep him in control. I can keep him bent towards me and keep his head down, but the lead rope is still there if he really gets his head up. And again, I have to be careful I don't put my head right over his, because if he lifts his head like that, I'm going to get popped in the jaw. Now, did you notice when he lifted his head that I didn't release? Again, see, I'm still here. I'm pressing on his neck right now. He learned something. Now I release as soon as he comes back down. I'm pressing. Yeah, that's the microphone. Now I release. Pressing, release, release. See, he takes the pressure off himself. So by having my arm here, I can kind of control him a little bit, and if I was to take the halter off, I still have a little bit of control. Again, don't put your head right over his, because if he lifts his head up, you're going to get popped. And also just be aware that if he really lifts his head up fast, you could hurt your shoulder. So don't fight him, but just don't take the pressure off. You can let your hand slide down, but your hand is still behind him. As long as you don't do this and totally take the pressure off, he's going to learn that he needs to put his head down to get the pressure to come off. So I'm pressing, release. And I can kind of press with my arm here by moving my elbow down. I'm going to bring his head around, switch hands. So now I'm holding the bridle in the other hand. Now I'm going to set the bit up for him. You see him kind of raising his head, so he's running into that pressure on my arm. Now here I'm kind of in a bind. I'm just not going to let go yet. I'm going to wait for him to lower his head. There. I still just don't let go. Pressing behind his ears. There. Now his head is pretty high up. At least now I have the bridle on to where it will stay, but you notice I haven't taken my hand off. I haven't given him a release. He'll find a release once he gets his head back down. There. And again, there. Now I like to get all the hair out from under the bridle. You don't need to eat that either. Put the throat latch on. So you see him playing with that bit. He's trying to get his tongue all around it. You know, and it's not bad. I think he's more playful than fighting it. But still, if I want to ride him in a bit, he needs to be comfortable in it without me even touching it. So when you put the throat latch on, you should have about 4 fingers of space on the throat latch. If it's too tight, that'll actually cut off his airway, especially when you ask them to tuck their head and flex at the pole. That's gonna, if it's too tight, it'll cut off their airway. Now you don't want it any looser than 4 fingers, because what the throat latch does is it keeps the bridle on their head. So if they go to itch against a post and that throat latch is loose, they'll just slip the whole bridle off. So now you see how it works with the bit being tied up, and that just keeps it so that he can't get his tongue over the bit. And like I said, I've been letting him wear this just sitting around in the stall or while he's eating, just to let him get used to it. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to let him wear it, but I'm going to use the lead rope, because for me, I don't see a reason to start pulling on the bit until he's totally comfortable with it. And actually, he's gotten a lot better. See, now he's holding it like a normal horse. When we first started out, it was... And he would kind of forget where he was and forget that I was there, and he's just playing with the bit. So, what I'm going to do is bring this lead rope around so I can use it like a rein, so I have one on each side. When you tie these lead ropes, can you guys see this? You're going to stick it through the hole. He's trying to play with it. You're going to go all the way around and come back out the same hole. And now it's tied. You want to leave yourself some tail, because it will slip a little bit and then you only have one rein. But try not to leave more than this amount of tail, because if they put their head down and step on that tail, most likely they're going to try and rear back or something like that, and you don't want to be on them when that happens. So just enough so that if it starts to slip, you have a little bit of backup, but not, you know, this much.